So why are the Brewers so good? It's because they do things the old school way, says one baseball expert. We'll tell you about that next on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. We were looking for a long day of baseball. Turns out we only got a half of a day of baseball, but we'll get to that coming up next. Hey, everybody. Chuck Freimund, Locked On Brewers, proud host of Locked On Brewers, longtime sportscaster here in the great state of Wisconsin, and proud to be with you every day here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel football season, the NFL and college right around the corner. Visit FanDuel, visit their app today, and start planning your futures bets right now. All right, coming up on the show, we'll tell you what one baseball insider says about the way the Brewers are winning, why they are winning. It's the old-fashioned way. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. It never gets old beating the Chicago Cubs as the Brewers did, although the second game was called off because of rain. Freddy Peralta, could he get to 20 wins? Could be. We dodged a bullet with Craig Counsell. We dodged one right there, right? I'm going to tell you why we shouldn't be booing that guy anymore. Coming up next, all this and more on this edition of Locked On Brewers. I was looking to talk about two games today, but then when I saw the weather forecast for at night, and I looked at the rain and all that, it was like 100% of rain in Chicago from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock, and it was like, I ain't playing no night game tonight. When are they going to play it? And sure enough, they called it, and it's a day-night doubleheader. They'll try to redo it tomorrow. But the Brewers did get the first game in, and beating the Cubs handily. Wow, that was so fun to watch. You got home runs by Terang and Durbin, solo shots. And I'm going to talk more about those two coming up here in a little bit, especially Durbin. But the Brewers won this game because, I mean, they made the Cubs look absolutely silly. Craig Counsell, the manager of the Cubs, and I'm going to tell you later on why we got the better. Well, we all know that right now, that the Brewers got the better of the two managers, right? I'm going to tell you some further facts about that a little bit later on in the show. But Craig doesn't know where George Webb is, but was he at all prepared for what the Brewers were going to throw at him and his team? Man, that looked like an unprepared team. I watched the Cubs this weekend, and they looked terrible against the Pirates. And I put out a tweet on Friday. I said the Cubs are going to have their hands full with the Pirates. And I heard it from all sorts of Cub fans. And sure enough, I was right. They had their hands full with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I said the Brewers weren't going to, but the Cubs were. And you watch the way the Cubs play, the Cubs are not in the Brewers league. The Brewers are up here. And if you're watching me on YouTube, I'm at the top of the screen. And the Cubs are probably, just below. The Cubs are playing like an average baseball team right now. They'll win a few, lose a few, win a few. Certainly not what I thought they were going to be this year, or anybody thought they were going to be, especially after they got off to that good start. And the Brewers made them look completely foolish, and that's fun. That's fun anytime you're in Wisconsin and you make one of those Chicago teams look foolish, because in Wisconsin, we love beating teams from Illinois, whether it's the Packers beating the Bears. In this case, the Brewers putting a number on the Cubs, and they've been doing this since the Brewers were in the National League. And game 163, as you see on my wall back there on YouTube, I got that program up there from game 163 in 2018, and it's trickling down to today. Now, the Cubs are ready for this series. You know, they've been talking about this for months. Oh, this Cubs series that's coming up, the series against the Brewers coming up in August, the 5 games in 4 days. Well, as the Brewers kept winning and the Cubs continued to be mediocre, and the Brewers won at such an ungodly rate, it proved that this series, some of the luster came off of it. It was like, now this series is to prove that the Cubs belong in the wild card race, and that they need to just win games. Doesn't matter if it's the Brewers or not. Meanwhile, the Brewers 40-10 now since they last faced the Cubs in mid-June, according to Adam McCalvy's tweet tonight. 40-10. The Cubs 25-26. That's why you got a 9-game lead in the division. That's why you got a 9-game lead in the division. You're 79-45, 9-game lead. And what I love today, Brewers fans turn Wrigley into AmFam South. Cubs fans like to talk about coming to Wrigley and calling it Wrigley Field North. Man, that was the most Brewers fans I've ever seen in Wrigley today, ever. And they were loud, and they were letting the Let's Go Brewer chants. It was great. I loved it, man. We're taking over that place. I was only sad that there was a rain out tonight because of the Brewer fans that went down there looking to take in two. Probably took a day off, maybe tomorrow off or whatever, looking to take two games. And, they did see one, but they saw a good one, and they saw the Brewers get the win. Now, I did feel at one point the Cubs are going to be quick to call this one because the Brewers are hot. The Cubs are short in the bullpen right now. Their starting pitcher, Horton, left the game like in the fourth inning with blisters. Things were not going, or in the third inning. Was it third inning? I think it was, because of blisters, and they had to use their bullpen. So the Cubs and their fans, they were pulling for a rainout because not only are they shorthanded in the bullpen, but the Brewers are just a machine. In fact, they're probably hoping that the next three games get rained out. But I saw there's like a 15% chance of rain tomorrow at Wrigley. All those memes on Twitter about Cubs fans getting out their rain machine to try to make it rain. The Cubs love their phantom rain delays, and it wouldn't be surprising me at all. But no, they're playing too. Looks like the weather's going to be fine. Playing a day-night doubleheader, but yeah, I think the way things were going, if they would have played this night game tonight, hard to predict baseball sometimes, but the Brewers have all sorts of momentum. The Cubs, at the end of that game, they didn't want to be there. They did not want to be there. The Brewers not only are the better team, but the Cubs look drained. The Cubs look like a team that is spent. Like they've had their better days and they're ready just for the season to end. They are the lifeless. I call them Team Lifeless. I don't know if this is a Brewers podcast, but since Craig Counsell's got a connection there, they are Team Lifeless. They are taking on the personality of Craig Counsell. I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later on. Get back to talking about our team. Durbin, 7th home run of the year, batting .255, 42 home runs. I mean, I shouldn't have to apologize about Durbin every time I come on, but I never disliked Durbin or the trade for Durbin. I just didn't think at third base was his position. I still don't think it is. I think it's second base. But Ortiz has been so good at short, the plan would have been moving Durbin to second to Rang to short and then maybe cutting loose with Ortiz. But man, Ortiz has proven to me everyday player. I know he had a little bleeder infield for a base hit today, taking advantage of Cubs' mistakes again. But I don't know. Ortiz has kind of worked his way back in the conversation with me. I don't know. But I would love to have more power at third base other than Durbin. But it's working. It's working to a tune of 79 and 45, right? Every time we might think it's going the other way, it never does. Maybe for like 15 minutes we get that thought. But we're nowhere near the comedy of the Cubs. The Cubs are a comedy right now. They are a comedy. And, they're talking about benching Kyle Tucker for a couple of days, give a day off. Kyle out there wanting his $500 million. God, I hope the Cubs sign him to $500 million. I hope they give him every dime of that. What a mistake you'll be getting. And you can keep Kyle Tucker tapping out to the right side of the Brewer infield as often as he wants to do. Man, what a great way to start the week. Little Monday afternoon baseball, and the Brewers roll out the victory. All right. Freddie Peralta. I'm going to get to that coming up here in a little bit. What I do want to talk about is something from Ken Rosenthal. He was on a show today, I think it was Foul Territory, and he was talking about the Brewers. I know, odd that somebody from the national scene is talking about the Brewers, but the Brewers are such a story right now. You can't help but talking about them, right? I mean, 40-10 since mid-June. What do you win? 15 of your last 16 games. You're 79 and 45. You're in the catbird seat. You are the best team by far in Major League Baseball. Like I always say, still surreal to think about, but it's just the facts. Ken Rosenthal was asked about the Brewers. He says, you know what? They don't obsess with analytics. And Rosenthal would know. Rosenthal's on the in with all these guys. He said the Brewers don't obsess with analytics. They don't get into the velo stuff. I'm sure they get into some of that. Every team does. The Brewers have their own analytics guys, but the Brewers concentrate on fundamentals. And I feel like that's something we've gotten away from in all sports. But in this case with the Brewers, yeah, what they do very well. Concentrate on the fundamentals, moving a guy over, stealing a base, taking the extra base, making all the plays defensively, making the catches. Talked yesterday about the Brewers do get a few breaks along the way. Durbin had one bobbled right into his arms, threw out a man at first base today. Cubs got the bases loaded. Hitter swings at ball 4. Thank you very much. Maybe the inning changes right there. Maybe the game changes right there. But those things happen to good teams. But the Brewers, according to Rosenthal, but we can see this, right? The fundamentals are there for the Milwaukee Brewers. They do everything right. What don't they do right on this team? I mean, you can't throw stones at these guys. Pat Murphy, old school college coach, brings that mentality to this team that they're going to do things right on this team. And if you don't do it right, big fella, you're having a seat on the bench, right? Now, he's cooled off a little bit on that way of thinking, that my way or the highway. But still, the point is there that play to the best of your ability. When you come in, you're thinking baseball. What can I do to help my team win? Move guys over, sacrifice flies, throwing to the right bases. Remember early in the year when guys were getting picked off and he was, I think it was Frelick who threw to the wrong base. He says it was an overthrow. You don't see those things happen. You don't see the Brewers make mistakes. The mistakes the Cubs made in the 8th inning, that was probably more mistakes that the Brewers have made in the last 6 weeks. And that's being light on the timeline on that. So when you don't make mistakes, you make all the plays, you do the right things, you steal bases, all that, you're going to overcome your talent ability. You don't have to have a top 50 team or a top 100 player on the ESPN list. If you do all the right things right, not always the most talented team wins. Okay? You can make up for a lot of things. We've always talked about the margin of error for the Milwaukee Brewers is very small. You can't be making mistakes. If this team would go out there and make mistakes and throw the ball around and do stupid things out there, yeah, they'd be like right around the 500 mark, maybe. But they don't do those things. They know that they have to play hard every day. They got to swing at good pitches, work the count, and do everything else I said, the defense and all that. And that's why they are 79 and 45. I almost had I did a double take there, making sure I had that number right. That's right. 34 games over the 500 mark, 79 and 45. 9 games up on the Cubs. I'm not an analytics guy. I know there's room for baseball for some of that, but I don't obsess over it either. The exit velocity and all that, and this and that. And, I'm old school. I think there's a lot of room in this game for it to be played a basic, hard-nosed way. And that's what I enjoy about the Milwaukee Brewers. I mean, I enjoy watching this more than any Brewers team I've ever watched before, because I love a team that plays, I love a basketball team that plays fundamentally. I don't care if you play in the 40s, but if you don't turn the ball over, you make the right passes and you make all your free throws and you don't make stupid mistakes. I love watching a team like that. In baseball too, a team that plays smart, a team with a bunch of guys who are a bunch of fighters and a bunch of guys with high baseball IQs. You go right down this whole team, all those guys. There's not one guy in that team you say, man, no, every guy on this Brewers team, not only are they 100% effort guys and they want to be in the lineup every day, they don't want to take any days off, but but they're smart baseball guys. Durbin in the locker room today, he says, we're like sharks out there. We smell blood and we're like sharks. And that's exactly what they are. Look at those games this past weekend against Cincinnati. Look at that 8th inning against the Cubs today. They're sharks. You give them any inch, there's blood, and those sharks are coming up from the bottom. That's my team right there. Murphy says, we are still underdogs. His quote of the day, Topps hasn't even started making cards for some of the guys in that clubhouse. That says it all right there. We come back, we'll talk about Freddie Peralta getting the 20 and how we dodged one with Craig Counsell. Remember back in 2023, we were all worried about Counsell going to Chicago. We don't have to boo him anymore. We'll tell you about that a little bit later on here in the podcast. Here on Locked On Brewers. FanDuel is a great sponsor of Locked On Brewers. And they got a big day coming up, August 26th. It's officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours on August 26th, FanDuel giving you deals on NFL preseason on predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, maybe like the Packers, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ, maybe like the Pack there as well. Before the season kicks off, this is your moment to get in on August 26th on FanDuel Futures Day. Take a flyer out of the MVP race. Crown your champion in August. Visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your future bets now with FanDuel Futures Day, August 26th. Mark it down. One day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. My only beef with FanDuel, were the Brewers an underdog again today, and they're the underdog tomorrow. They're an underdog with Peralta on the hill today, who got to his 15th win. Cubs had a shot against him in the 4th inning. Peralta walked the bases loaded, and he got out of it. 6 innings, 1 hit. On his way to his 15th win. It'll be the first time the Brewers will get a 20-game winner if he finishes his off since 1986. Getting to 20 wins used to be a benchmark for pitchers. That's how we graded pitchers on. 20-game winner, Jim Palmer. 20-game winner, Teddy Higuera. No longer the case anymore. Quality starts, keeping your team in the ball game, going out there and having a great ERA. So 20-game winner. Yeah, his record 15-5. That's beautiful. It looks great in the scorebook. Looks great on the scoreboard. But the fact is that he's gone out and pitched so great this year, like an ace. We questioned whether or not I did before the season. We talk about Freddie being the ace. I've said he's the number 1 pitcher in this rotation. I wouldn't necessarily call him an ace. He had not been pitching like an ace. He is this year. Even Murphy has said Freddie Peralta is the best version of himself right now. He is. And again, it's been 29 years. Teddy Higuera on a bad base Brewers team got to 20 wins. Teddy Higuera, one of the all-time best lefties in Brewers history. Brewers cut short because of a rotator cuff injury. And back then, the surgeries were not as advanced as they are today. And that pretty much ended Teddy Higuera's career in the early 90s. Today, Teddy Higuera would have probably been back following a year or two after the rotator cuff surgery. But back then, 80s and 90s, the advancements in medical weren't where they are today. But Peralta's got a chance to move into a 20-game winner's spot. But regardless, I don't care if he gets to 20. Well, 20 will mean that the Brewers continue to win. I just want this team to keep on churning out victories. All right. Chad Patrick is going to pitch, by the way, in the first game on Tuesday. He was supposed to pitch in the night one on Monday night. He's the 20. You're allowed to expand your roster to 27 with the doubleheader. So Chad Patrick, the 27th man, is going to pitch in game 1, and then Woodruff will pitch in game 2 on Tuesday. So it'll be Patrick and Woodruff. Matthew Boyd will pitch in game 1. He's an 11-game winner, one of their best pitchers. Tyon will pitch for the Cubs in game 2. So it'll be Boyd and Tyon and Patrick and Woodruff. Looks like 2 more wins in my book for the Milwaukee Brewers. All right. Why we should not be booing Craig Counsell anymore and be cheering the Cubs because of this. Coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. PrizePicks, daily fantasy with PrizePicks. This episode brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason's already heating up. College football not far behind. They got week 0 coming up here shortly. So whether you got your eye on big name quarterbacks, breakout running backs, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in the game with their daily fantasy platform. Pick more or less on a player. Let's say Barkley or Allen or Rodgers or Burrow, more or less on theirs. Couple them, however you want to do it. But PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are very fast with PrizeDuels, with PrizePicks. All withdrawals very fast, PrizePicks, fast, safe, and secure. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks. Run your game daily fantasy with PrizePicks. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers. And by the way, our podcast, you can get it on Google, Spotify, Apple, all the major downloads out there, all the audio platforms, and of course our growing YouTube page. You come into the beautiful Locked On Brewers studio, and it's me and you talking Brewers baseball nightly here on Locked On Brewers. Go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Thank you all you everydayers for making us your first listen every day here on Locked On Brewers. Follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freimund, Freimund. Love hearing where all you are watching the podcast. Heard from a guy in Quebec today, Montana, Billings, Montana today, all sorts of places. Thank you. Alberta, Canada, another place. That'd be in Calgary, I think. Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Yes. So we're heard everywhere, all around the world. And thank you for you telling me your story. I love it. I love reading your stories and your Brewer fan stories. One guy who was a brewer, Craig Counsell. We shouldn't boo him anymore because you know what? Him going to the Cubs was the best thing to happen to the Milwaukee Brewers. Best thing. The Brewers aren't here with Craig Counsell as their manager. I noticed this last year when Counsell was in Chicago, how lifeless his teams were at times. And I'm like, man, his teams don't show any fight. They give up in the 7th inning and the 8th inning. They're done. They get behind. They are done. I said, man, I've noticed that. Looks like a familiar storyline. I noticed that in Milwaukee, and it's continuing this year. When the Brewers got that 2-0 lead, perhaps 1-0 lead, this game is over. You put one arm behind the Cubs' back, and they are calling uncle. They are saying, I am done. We are finished. Those are Craig's teams. They take on the personality. He's a smart manager. I know he knows his baseball, but there is no fight in this Cubs team. And you know what? This Brewers team, there's no way they would have a record of 79-45 right now. Absolutely not. Pat Murphy, the perfect manager for this team. A guy who was not the first or second or third choice, a courtesy interview. I suppose this can apply for all things in life. The guy you might not think is going to be your star could turn out to be the right hire. You know, number 4 on your candidate list could be the guy. Pat Murphy, courtesy interview. Let's interview this guy. And man, what a hire he has. Well on his way to getting manager of the year once again. Now, I know he doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't like talking about stuff like that, but certainly is. For 1,000 different reasons, you could tell that Murphy is a better manager than Craig Counsell. Number 1, especially, his team's got a pulse. Brewers with Counsell did not have a pulse. There's absolutely no way do I think the Brewers would be like this if Counsell was here. The Cubs spent $40 million on him. Thank God. Thank God he took the offer. Thank God he left. Right? we were kind of not mourning, but yeah, mad, disappointed and all that when he left. Thank goodness, man, we got the better guy. And this guy, Murphy, has taken us to new levels. Who knows how long he wants to manage, be in his mid-60s, young kids, I don't know. But I hope he stays here for a long, long time because his magic is working with this franchise. It is working with this team. Counsell, no fire. You would think he'd get thrown out once in a while, do something, spark his team. None of that. Counsell just sits back and is content with his team getting their butts kicked in by the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, well, I don't like hanging around with people like that. People just, well, they'll get him next time. No, show some fire. I show some fire. I throw some clubs once in a while. I throw a club once in a while when I golf. Or spike a golf ball. Yeah, childish a little bit, but it shows I got some fire at least. And when I throw a club, I make sure it's not in anybody's direction. All right, that's going to do it. We'll see what team lackluster the Chicago Cubs have for the Brewers tomorrow. Another day-night doubleheader scheduled. Again, we thought this was going to be a long day today. Turned out it wasn't. That's fine. We'll get them to tomorrow. Brewers are on their way, baby. On their way. And they didn't let a little loss on Sunday get in their way. They bounced right back. It took care of business behind Freddie Peralta doing Brewer baseball, ABC baseball, a couple of solo home runs, doing Brewers things this afternoon, Monday afternoon. I love it. Hey, man, have yourself a great Monday. We'll see you back here later on Tuesday night. Have yourself a great Monday. I'm doing this on a Monday. Have yourself a great Tuesday. We'll be back here late Tuesday night talking Brewers baseball with you and hopefully talking about a day-night sweep and moving 11 games ahead of these guys. I'm telling you, the Reds are going to catch the Cubs before you know it. Not our problem. We're just worried about getting the best record in baseball. My name is Chuck Freimund. Thanks for making us your first listen to every day. And all you everydayers on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, we are your team every day.